Assalamu alaikum. I'm starting the meeting officially now, second meeting of Critical Readers Club. It's indeed a great opportunity for me to be here with all of you. The I'm still intoxicated by the last week's meeting. It went on so well, and we were thinking that the sailing would be as smooth as it was in the last meeting, but then the things started getting a little bit tougher. The situation in the country got worse. The problems with the technology increased, and the clusters number 3 and number 4 who are presenting, they are giving their presentations today, they faced a lot of problems. However, they have worked very hard to make today's meeting also successful. But in between this last 1 week, a lot of things have happened. We have seen a spike in the coronavirus onslaught, and uh, every day is full of a lot of hope and desperation and disappointment. And then we keep bracing ourselves to face this huge pandemic. Every day we keep giving ourselves doses of encouragement and motivation that we will be able to overcome. And every day we all keep dreaming that one day this thing will be over and we will be back to our normal lives. There have been huge number of prayers also going on, and all this while everything is going on, I have been trying to uh, make some semblance of order in all this chaos by preparing these clusters. I would like to salute these cluster 3 and 4 members. They have taken so much anger from me during the last 1 week that I was wondering that they're going to rebel, but that they won't be able to really take all that pressure. But really, they are really good and hard workers. Um, and I must say that today's meeting, if it's a success, it's entirely because of their hard effort. Without taking any more time, I would like to move on to the um, introduction of the clusters. Today's meeting is split in 3 parts. One is cluster 3 is presenting chapters 5 and 6. Then we are going to have a short break after that. When the cluster presents, when the chapter ends, we are going to have a question answers session after chapter 5, and then there will be chapter 6 and again a question answer session, and then we will have a small break of 5 to 7 minutes after this, after which cluster 4 will start presenting. In today's class, we also have the in today's sort of, again, we teachers consider everything as a class. In today's meeting, uh, there are a lot of people who here who have their classes at 11:30 a.m. I know, I saw the NOAA schedule, so um, there will be space, of course, for others to join in. I will ask some of you to keep manning that, keep posting in that Critical Readers Club 1 and Club 2 groups, that more people can join after 11:15 or 11:30. I'll start my presentation now. Um, as we all know, that the situation these days, this is the situation these days, as you all know. Um, During this meeting, there will be a lot of disturbance because of the internet. Everybody is suffering. Even I am having this standby uh, internet by which I'm running this meeting, and we may get disconnected. And as far as the coronavirus is concerned, this is our situation. Every day after hearing the news, we feel like doing this. I liked that Facebook post that when we hear the news, when we go outside, it looks at everything is all okay, and we will be able to control everything. And the moment we hear the news, तो हमारा ख्याल होता है कि मैं नहीं बचता. So this is what is going on, and amid this all pell mell, we try to create a little bit of order by keeping ourselves focused on our work. And this beautiful project. It keeps us occupied, it keeps us busy, it keeps us fighting with each other, and it keeps us sane to a little bit, to a little extent. So this is the second meeting, 5th of April, and cluster 3 is going to present chapter 5 and chapter 6. Then cluster 4 will present the chapter 7 and chapter 8. First of all, I would like to introduce the cluster 3. I must inform in the beginning that the clusters are purely, I have very little input in preparing everything for this meeting. Basically, it's the cluster leaders' work and the whole team work. Cluster 3 is headed by Ghulam Abbas. It is this cluster leader and these people who have worked very hard during the past few weeks, I would say, to bring this stuff in front of you. Ghulam Abbas is an old comrade. We have been together in IGDF also, and the Chapter 5, internal security issues in Pakistan. Chapter 6, Pakistan's economy, very important chapters. What I like about this book and this meeting is the amount of information that these meetings are bringing to our aspirants. Ghulam Abbas is going to present chapter 5. He will introduce, and then there are three actually presenters within this group. For chapter 5, Ghulam Abbas, Sara Tanveer will also contribute to chapter 5. Afza Naqvi will also, she will introduce chapter 5 and the political challenges she's presenting herself. Then chapter 6 is split between Kifayatullah, Sibtan Shah, and Tabassum Naz. I must also mention Kaisar Arshad, who has been contributing a lot to the preparation of Cluster 3, but since last 2 days, he has not been able to contribute to this because his father is critically ill in hospital, and we all pray for the health and fast recovery of his father. And that is why I considered it important to acknowledge his contribution to this cluster's work. For individual participants' introduction, I move on to first of all, in cluster 3, the cluster leader himself, Ghulam Abbas. He's taking part in chapter 5 and chapter 6. Ghulam Abbas is basically from Vihari, Punjab, and currently he's working as an assistant lecturer in Virtual University, Pakistan, whose importance has uh, become all the more prominent now as the virtual education seems to be the only thing which is working these days. He has done his bachelor's in computer science from ComSets Islamabad, Bihari campus. His special areas of interest include reading books, exploring domestic challenges, and exploring natural beauty. Best of luck, Ghulam Abbas, with your explorations. He has already attempted CSS once in 2019 and would be attempting again in 2021. I like his critical analysis and the methodic manner in which he approaches his work, and that is why he was selected as the cluster leader for cluster 3. Sara Tanveer is one of the cluster members for cluster 3. She is presenting chapter 5. She is from Islamabad, and she has done her MPhil in economics from Qaid-e-Azam University in 2016. Her interests include reading Islamic books, exploring hidden things which we should know, and that is what actually brings these people closer to inferential knowledge. She has already attempted CSS once in 2019 and is preparing now for 2021. Welcome, Sarah Tanveer, to this forum, and I'm sure that the input of these students to this, not only to Critical Readers Club, but also to our research magazine, our next venture, is going to prove to be highly beneficial for all of you. Afza Naqvi is in cluster 3. She is taking part in chapter 5, internal security issues in Pakistan. She's from Bahawalnagar, Punjab, has done masters in mathematics, and she's a master trainer for maths from Qaid-e-Azam Academy for Educational Development. Currently, she is working with the Ministry of Education. She did her masters from Punjab University. Her areas of interest are social work and administration. And she appeared this year in 2020. She loves to read history, watch fiction, and work to eliminate gender discrimination. Welcome, Afsa. I hope your work is going to be beneficial to our listeners today. Sayyid Mohammad Saptan Shah is in chapter 3, cluster 3. Is participating in chapter 6, Pakistan's economy. Saptan happens to be from Kohat, KPK. He is currently serving in district administration with the DMU, District Management Unit, Kohat. He is BS in English from Kohat University of Sciences, and his interests include information technology, English language, and self-actualization. I was quite impressed by his special interests, self-actualization. Has appeared in 2020, and I like his deep interest in novel reading, freelancing, and attending seminars of self-development and learning. His self-actualization, I highly respect the interests and contributions of these people. On a lighter note, I would like to add that in his picture, the वो जो पीछे आपको तार नजर आ रही है, जो वायर नजर आ रही है, वो सैयद सिप्तान शाह की नहीं है. ठीक है? That is not connected to him. Okay. Moving on. Don't mind, please, Siptan Shah. Okay. Kifayatullah is in cluster 3. He's presenting chapter 6, Pakistan's economy. He's from Gilgit-Baltistan, and executive engineer in local government and rural development department for GB. He's working there right now as assistant director works also. This is additional charge for GDA. He has done engineering, civil engineering from the NED University, Karachi. When I asked him about his special interests, he said that he wants to learn about institutional reform and how to implement those for enhancement of service delivery level of government institutions. He's also interested in enhancement of personal capacities to uplift the service delivery level. I would say that the local government officers in rural development, especially, they have this focus on uplifting the service delivery level. His message was that dare to be a part of fraudulent system without compromising rules and regulations, and try to be a reformist in ambient provided to you. He opted not to give a portrait picture, and I respect his choice. As far as respecting the choice is concerned, later on we are going to have some more portraits in maybe in cluster 2. So this respect of choice is going to play an important part there also. Tabassum Naz is the next participant presenter today in cluster 3. She is from Karachi, has done her MBA from Ikra University and BBA from Federal University, Karachi. She wants to spread education in underprivileged areas for poor children, has appeared in 2020, and she has a very interesting message. She says that appearing in 2020 made her believe that everyone could pass the CSS exam. That's quite an interesting observation, and let's hope that we can really endorse her observation. So this is the most interesting part for me, as far as my part is concerned. I love to present the presenters, because these are the people who are real heroes, who have worked really hard during the last few days. And despite the threat of the coronavirus, the problem with electricity and with this internet and everything, and maybe more dangerous and more threatening than all these were Meri Jhadkiyan or Mera Gussa. And if they could not break in front of those other things, this was something really hard. So मैंने तो ब्लड प्रेशर की डबल डोज लेके तो अपने आप को थोड़ा सा जरा कंट्रोल कर लिया है. And I thought that I would publicly say sorry to all these people who have been listening so much from me, receiving so much from me during the last few weeks. I'm sorry for that. Okay, so we are over to the our first cluster 3. Over to Ghulam Abbas. It's all to you now. Over to you, Ghulam Abbas. Please take over. GFza, we can hear you now. Uh, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
जी सर मेरा एक्चुअली इशू आ रहा था कि माइक म्यूट था. Okay, Assalamu alaikum, all respected members. I'm Afsa, and first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Arif Javed, who has given us such a chance to broaden our mental horizon. Today, here my group is going to present chapter number 5 of a renowned book, Pakistan at the Crossroads, edited by Christophe Jeffrelot. And the name of the chapter is Internal Security Issues in Pakistan. And this chapter is compiled by Dr. Hassan Abbas. In this chapter, the writer has mainly discussed the prospects of police and law enforcement reforms. So, first of all, uh, I would introduce you. I would give a brief introduction of the writer, who is Dr. Hassan Abbas. He is a professor and HOD of Regional and Analytical Studies at National Defense Universities, and his interests include nuclear proliferation, religious extremism, and relations between Muslims and the West. And he also remained government official in Benazir and Musharraf era. Next, I would call Sir Ghulam to proceed further.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Ghulam Abbas and I'll present the current challenges faced by Pakistan law enforcement agencies. First of all, I'll discuss FATA issue. Actually, FATA had been a home of Taliban and thus cause of an insurgency in Pakistan. However, this situation has been improved after the FATA merger into KPK. This issue has been discussed because the book was compiled in 2014 and at that time it was a major issue. As far as the severe impacts of war on terror are concerned, Dr. Hassan Abbas has said that the consequences of war on terror in Pakistan had been fatal in terms of financial and human cost. The 479 attacks during 2002 to 2014-18 cost 60,000 precious lives and huge economic cost. The serious challenges faced by Pakistan law enforcement agencies include limited resources, poor training, inadequate equipment, and lack of investigative tools and lack of forensic labs. As far as the comparison between the terrorism and crime is concerned, a study was conducted by a RAND Corporation named as How Terrorist Groups End. It compares terrorism and crime, and they refer local insurgency and crime and terrorism as crime, because they say that you see, it is a crime because it's conducted against the local people. It's not at a national or international level. Due to this, it's most favorable to use combined effort of law enforcement agencies and intelligence instead of military operations due to working scale and consequences. As far as perspective of police reforms in Pakistan is concerned, there are mainly of two types. The first one is the traditional police reforms, and the other one is the innovative police reforms. These two types will be discussed later. As far as the international cooperation for the improvement of law enforcement in Pakistan is concerned, the first one, Dr. Hassan Abbas said that the introduction of the Police Act 2002. Since the inception of Pakistan, police used the British legacy with Police Act of 1861, but reforms were introduced in Musharraf era in the form of Police Act 2002. Some initiatives for reforms like higher salaries and advanced forensic labs were introduced. As far as international support is concerned regarding the law enforcement organization in Pakistan, the countries like UK, USA, France, and Australia have helped Pakistan in terms of vehicles, bulletproof jackets, in building a police academy in KPK, and forensic labs. They have also helped in conducting police trainings. Furthermore, we need to strengthen the rule of law for preserving the democracy and curbing the terrorism in Pakistan. As far as an overview of law enforcement organization in Pakistan is concerned, Dr. Hassan Abbas has said that these are mainly of two types, either under the federal government or under the provincial government. In terms of ministries, these are divided into four major categories. The first one are under the Ministry of Interior. Second one is under the Ministry of Communication. Third one is under the Ministry of Defense. Fourth and the last one is under the Ministry of Narcotics and Control. As far as intelligence organizations in Pakistan are concerned, these are also mainly of two types. The first one is the ISI, which is the National Intelligence Agency of Pakistan. This is mainly under the control of military. The next one are the agencies like Intelligence Bureau and Federal Investigation Agency, which are under the Ministry of Interior. To discuss the reasons for the weakness of law enforcement infrastructure, I hand it over to Sarah. Over to Sarah now.
Actually, we need to unmute these people as they come up. Wait a minute, Sarah. Let us unmute you. Okay, you're unmuted now. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Ghulam Abbas. Here, Hassan Abbas tells about the reasons for the weakness of law enforcement. We know that from 1 or 2 decades, we are facing terrorism and militancy. It was going to increase due to the negligence of police. Since 1947, policymakers have not focused on the police reform, so that ethnicity, sectarianism, and the criminal activity are increasing day by day. Some recommendations were given, but they were so general and pathetic. Due to these reasons, our police are handicapped due to lack of resources and the disconnection of the institution. Hassan Abbas gives first reason historical factors and outmoded laws. Since 1947, we used Police Act 1861, which was authoritative in accountability and oppressive in approach. This act was active till 2002. In Musharraf era, he applied Japanese model for police, which was nominated and elected people look after the police activities. But in this model, there were many amendments and recommendations, so it was fragile. Second one is the insufficient number and second resources. Our population is around 220 million. In our country, one policeman entertains at 300 people. The standardized number in UN in one policeman entertains the 400 people. But For Pakistan, this number is insufficient because militancy and terrorism are there. Government is not taking interest to invest in counter-terrorism specialists. There are limited institutes to deal the counter-terrorism like the FIA and SIGs. Third one is the institutional disconnect. There is no connection and uniformity within the provinces and federal. In provinces, they conduct their own trainings, and there is no integration at the national level. There are no standardized measures for hiring and promotions. Lack of trust is here. Hassan Abbas gives example of the lack of trust in this book. In 2009, 5 major suicide attacks were planned and conducted by the students of the Lal Masjid. One of these attacks on the Pakistan Army headquarters was earlier reported, and the Punjab police knew about these incident and had collected information from arrested militant who had a chip. All information of this incident was in this chip, but unfortunately, due to this mistrust of the institutions, police did not share the information with the intelligence forces. Authors also describe about the provincial police forces and the Islamabad forces. KPK police is better than the Punjab police because KPK police is fighting bravely against the terrorism from the last decade. The main reason behind is that foreign aid gives for the KPK police to increase resources and enhance the expertise to tackle the terrorism. Punjab police is now going to focus on reforms and enhance the resources, but Sindh and Balochistan police are not good in condition due to the lobby system and the lack of incentives which are given to police like salaries and promotions. Islamabad police is also ineffective. Aisha Sadiqa points out how can possible 11,626 cops handle the federal because some police have to monitor embassies, VIP protocols, hospitals, schools, as well as madrasas. National Highway Authority and the Motorway Police are corruption-free departments because their salaries are good, good trainings facilities, and the modern equipments are there. But unfortunately, Railway Police and the airport security forces are not good fortunate because of lack of funds. Now, next, Hafsa tells you about the political changes. Over to Hafsa.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay. My topic is political challenges, and I will present you people that how politicization of law enforcement agencies has impacted performance of police. This is a fact of our country that here everything can be negotiated and rules are rarely fixed. The same thing has been discussed by Dr. Hassan Abbas in this chapter. So the first factor about this is that the police in Pakistan has traditionally been used by the state to suppress the opposition, and secondly, political connections are widely being used by the police department to get favorite appointments and to remain in a better position. And the worst form of this problem is in rural areas where feudal elements use police to teach a lesson to the people who deny to obey them. Mostly of such people are peasants or poor people. So this is how politics has ruined the effectiveness of a police department. The police officials mostly remain busy in building a good relationship with their political lords rather to combat terror or and modern crime. So, in addition to this, lack of modernization is another hurdle in the way of effective policing. Police department lack a modern investigation and interrogation techniques, and their forensic capacity is also insufficient. So, therefore, police use torture and inhuman tactics to elicit confessions. Here, you people can see a picture that is depicting this fact well. And further, the training schools of a police department are also in deplorable condition and lack expertise. These factors had made police department unable to combat modern crime and terrorism effectively. Further, inter-institutional complexities is another challenge in the view of effective policing. There is actually dysfunctional relationship between police and intelligence organization. And in this chapter, Dr. Hassan Abbas has discussed the fact in the way that there are many criminals who mostly join militant groups, and after that, police is almost handicapped to even track them and to trace them. Although some intelligence organizations have info about the militant groups, but they show distrust and don't like to share that information with the police department. And this lack of coordination also leads to poor data collection with regards to crime and criminals. And further, there is another issue, which is ineffective criminal justice system. There is a lack of the witness protection system, and consequently, uh, those who testify against powerful criminals and militants in courts receive no security. And the best known case is that of Sipah Sahaba terrorist Malik Ishaq. Actually, his police charge sheet includes at least 70 murders, but he has never had a conviction. So this also led to extrajudicial killing as a preferred option for the police, as this is evident in the apparently staged police encounter killing Malik Ishaq Khan on July 29, 2015. So lack of modernization, interinstitutional complexities, and our ineffective criminal justice system has impacted the performance of the police department. Further the chapter.
Assalamu alaikum. As far as recommendations for the traditional reforms of the law enforcement organizations in Pakistan is concerned, the first one is the traditional reforms, and first of among them in traditional reforms is to implement the Police Act of 2002 nationwide. Why I said nationwide? The reason is that we know that the police is now under the provincial subject after the 18th Amendment, and thus every police, like KPK police, Punjab police, and Sindh police, they have their own laws and regulations which they follow. And this has caused the lack of integration and mistrust among them, and thus the implementation of this act nationwide will curb these issues.
Excuse me,
The,
Ghulam Abbas, there is a message asking, are there recommendations from your side or from the author side?
from the author side, sir.
Dr. Hassan Abbas.
Yes, sir. From
Okay.
Dr. Hassan Abbas.
Thank you.
Dr. Hassan Abbas has further said that it's urgent to increase the public awareness about the jobs and duties of law enforcement organizations. We often observe that the rights of public are abused by the law enforcement organizations, and if public know about their rights, and thus they can demand their rights. Furthermore, he has said that it's needed to focus on the junior officers for training which are held abroad. For such purpose, often seniors are preferred, but we know that the juniors have to take the place of their seniors in future, thus they also need to be promoted. And as everyone know, Dr. Astar Mas has also said that Pakistan law enforcement organizations are facing terrorism since a decade, not a decade, but more than a decade. They should also be given a good equipment and provided with training support. The reason is that the terrorists use modern equipment for conducting their attacks. So if the police organizations do not have the modern equipment or modern training or the vehicles or ammunitions or the bulletproof jackets, how can they cope with those terrorists? The next one is to help NECTA in analytical and research work. Dr. Hassan Abbas has said that NECTA is actually building a database, developing a database where they'll keep record of criminals and those regions where the criminal activities are conducted, the timings and the people who conduct those activities. This will help them to predict the attacks and thus prevent them. It's also very important to streamline the counter-terrorism strategy. The reason is that, as we know, that when there was the endemic of dengue fever in Pakistan, it was introduced in the syllabus of in the curriculum of school books that how to prevent dengue. So similarly, the counter-terrorism measures can also be introduced to the school syllabus so that all of the school students and others may get awareness about them. The next are the recommendations for innovative reforms. Dr. Hassan Abbas has said the first innovative reform is to restructure the law enforcement organization. As we have already discussed, that the police is under the provincial subject, and thus the police of all the provinces are segregated from each other and they follow different rules and laws. Thus, the idea is to develop a central police organization. All of the regional and provincial police organizations will respond to that central organization, and they'll share their intelligence. It will remove the problems like institutional disconnect and mistrust. The next one is to reform the criminal justice system. Dr. Hassan Abbas has argued that Pakistan's criminal justice system is currently facing the issues like limited resources, lack of professionalism, and incompetence. And we also know that when we need to counter the terrorists also threaten the witness, the jury, and the courts, and thus they may evade punishment due to the lack of evidence. Thus, an effective strategy is needed to counter the punishment evasion by criminals. Thank you, all of you. If you have any question, you ask.
Yes, we have been receiving questions. Meanwhile, first of all, the question is that Abbas Amjad here is asking the question that how insufficient number of police force is a problem for Pakistan. Can you go to that slide, please, where we have this number of UN and when the United States number of standard police ratio is 1 to 400, and the ratio which is, if you exit the full screen and then you can find a slide easily. Yes. Okay. And the UN standard police ratio is 1 to 400, and the ratio of police in Pakistan is 1 to 300. In your opinion, what ratio will be better for Pakistan?
Well, as far as comparison is concerned, I think that the United Nations has given a ratio in a country where the situation is normal. There is a peace. But as it was already mentioned that Pakistan is facing a menace of terrorism, thus the ratio of 1 to 300 is less. So it should be more than that.
Okay. I hope that answers Abbas Amjad's query. Do we have any more questions? I don't see any questions in the chat. You can ask your questions in chat. Wakas is asking how we can improve our judicial system and protect our witnesses and evidence.
Well, as far as it is concerned, I've already mentioned that the criminal justice system of Pakistan is outdated, and we are still using the CRPC 1898 and that act of DPC. And first of all, these acts are outdated, and the other one is that the witnesses are not provided with any sort of security. And particularly when they are witnesses against the terrorists, such criminals may even kill their families. So when one is afraid of that he may lose his family, he'll not even bother to go to the court. So law enforcement organization should take care of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Ahmed is asking that in recommendations, Dr. Hassan Abbas has not given any way to politicize the police system. Why is that so? I don't think we can answer this question, because this is the question to the author. And in the book, if there is a deficiency, so we cannot fill that gap. If he has not given a way to deeper, yes, there is a problem that there is no way given how to depoliticize the police system. Next question from Zabiullah Meher is that how can lack of coordination between institutions, particularly intelligence agencies, be resolved?
I think the question is ambiguous. Please clear a bit more. He was supposed to be asking that we need to politicize our law.
Police Act of 1861 is a weakness.
So what did you say? I just listened to you.
Malik Ijaz is asking that how is the Police Act of 1861 a weakness?
Yes, as I've already mentioned that these are outdated laws. The reason is that the Police Act of 1861, approximately it's a century and a half more than this time now. And we know that since the inception of Pakistan, we are using this. And after the after the menace of the terrorism, such acts cannot be used. And we know that the interpretation of law it varies with respect to place, with respect to time. And how can we use the Act of 1861 in 2020?
No, that is understood. It is 159 years old. But Abbas Amjad has said that 1861 Police Act is still being used in India. Don't you think that the will on the part of your police is a major reason of weakness rather than the outdated law? So as far as the law is concerned, in India also, the same Police Act of 1861 is being used and being used more effectively rather than in Pakistan. I don't think we have answer for this from Dr. Hassan. Okay, Mohammed, next question. Uh, yes,
सर मैं
please.
यहाँ थोड़ा सा बताना चाहूंगी
Welcome.
असल में इंडिया में जो था वो उसमें कुछ अमेंडमेंट्स के बाद वो इम्प्लाई हुआ है लेकिन इसकी जो 1861 की जो उनकी जो कैटेगरी है ना वो बेसिकली इनकाउंटेबिलिटी थी आप पुलिस को आप उसको पूछ नहीं सकते थे उस टाइम अब ये है कि आप डेमोक्रेटिक अप्रोच है मॉडर्न अप्रोच है कि आप जो है ये जापानीज मॉडल जब इम्प्लीमेंट किया था मुशर्रफ एरा में तो उन्होंने जो है वो कुछ प्रोविंसेस को नॉमिनेटेड इलेक्टेड लोगों को दिया था कि आप पुलिस की लुक आफ्टर करें और आप पूछेंगे कि पुलिस ने ये काम ठीक किया या नहीं किया इस वजह से
Okay, let's go ahead.
So is there any further question?
Let me check.
Okay, sir.
So Mohammed is asking that how can we improve intelligence sharing between law and enforcement agencies, law enforcement agencies? I think they have already given that Central Police Organization, CPO, which can solve this issue of the of this lack of coordination
Institution
between the
distributed.
different departments. Yes, exactly. Zalan Khan has a question: how forensic lab will cater to these challenges?
Well, we know that to prove a case or to prove the cases like terrorism or murder, we need some evidence, and evidence need to be updated. We know that some of the evidence cannot be, captured under the camera or cannot be written down. For example, the DNA of the attacker or the blood stains or such things can only be identified using the forensic labs. That's why it's very important.
Okay, Afza also wants to say something in this regard. I have unmuted her.
सर वो सर अब्बास आंसर दे चुके हैं आई वाज आल्सो गोइंग टू से द सेम थिंग
Okay, Malik Ijaz has asked that he has actually added that 1861 Act there has been other acts also which were implemented like the Act in 1909 and then 1919 also. So there are continuous improvements going on in the Police Act. Anyhow, so the main question remains that how can politicization of police be reduced by Adan Sajjad?
Well, the question in this regard is that we know that both departments are segregated. The political representatives of a region and the police organizations of that region or the province. These both departments are segregated, but the need is that both of them have to work together. They cannot. The political directors give the direction, and the executives follow those policies. The reason is that the police should be accountable to only to the seniors and the courts, not to the political leaders. Because if it's accountable to the political leaders, then they might use it for their purposes.
Okay, we have this question from Ayman Mirza, Dr. Ayman. It's intriguing that our intelligence is intelligence agencies are reputed worldwide, but our police under the same body is otherwise. Does Dr. Hassan tell anything regarding this dilemma that our intelligence agencies are so well reputed world over, but not the police?
As far as this book is concerned, I think it's not given in that scenario, but I'd like to answer this question with your permission, sir.
Okay.
The reason is that every organization has their own failures and successes. Our intelligence, either it's our intelligence agencies or our police organization. Why the police is so used in recalled in bad words? The reason is that police is in front of all of us. We know their failures and successes. But as far as intelligence organizations are concerned, we don't know even about a single operation which they have conducted. And if we know it's about approximately about 20 to 30 years ago, they don't disclose their information.
All right. Okay. So we have the last question coming up. Can there be consensus on intelligence sharing among the various stakeholders?
I think it should be, because I've already given an idea of Central Police Organization. Dr. Hassan Abbas had told that if they don't want to share their information, we know that only one organization cannot take the responsibility of the whole country. We know that every organization has its strengths and weakness, and even its personal limitations. So it's the time even to take the responsibility and share the information with one another and make the collaborations.
Okay. Samiullah Khan has a question that our law enforcement is always on defensive mode rather than on offensive mode. So why are we still facing internal security issues?
They are on defensive mode. First of all,
Yes.
the reason is that there are multiple reasons against the prevalence of terrorism in Pakistan. It's not the law enforcement, rather it's the inception of Pakistan due to the political coalitions like which we made with USA in against war and terror. So the resultantly there was terrorism in Pakistan, and and it has been reduced to a greater extent. The reason is that the local law enforcement organizations like police are not efficient to such an extent to curb the menace of terrorism. Rather, military force has been used in the areas like SWAT and the operations that and other operations like this. The reason is that that's why our police is I know that is on the defensive mode, but as I mentioned, many problems like the ineffective criminal justice system and evasion of terrorists from the punishment. These are the reasons which have given prevalence to this issue.
Okay. Ghulam Abbas, thank you very much. And will you stop sharing the screen now, please?
All right, sir.
Your screen is still being shared. Can you stop your screen sharing, please? We are seeing Tabassum Naz. Just a minute, please. Okay. This was the close of chapter 5 by cluster 3. Thank you very much, Ghulam Abbas, Afzal Naqvi, and Sara Tanveer. I hope all of you benefited as much from this chapter analysis as I have. And we are moving on to chapter 6. Please start this cluster 3, start your chapter 6. Ghulam Abbas, it's over to you and your team for chapter 6.